I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV. I almost forgot what I was doing. Where are we? Alter Ego Comics TV for the week of October 12th, 2016. Lots of variety this week as far as the week's best comics. And I will kick things off with my pick of the week, Reborn, #1, by Mark Millar and Greg Capullo. This is a sci-fi, fantasy, what happens to you after you die story. And I can't say a whole lot without giving stuff away, but I will say it is the book with the most feeling this week. It is a book that will probably make you think a little bit. And when I finished it, I was just like, man, that was a good comic. Very much like when I finished the first issue of Millar's Huck. If you are a fan of Capullo's artwork on the New 52 Batman, you will see more of the same, and but you'll get to see cool fantasy and sci-fi elements as well. Just a really strong first issue, and we've come to expect this from Mark Millar. I don't know how he does it. I really don't. He kind of does it the right way. He does all these mini-series that don't drag on and on and on, and he's teaming up with some of the best artists in the business. In the back of the book, they have a list of the Millar World collection checklist, and you just look at the artists that he's worked with, and it's mind-boggling. So I give Reborn a wholehearted recommendation. It is my pick of the week. Anything to add?
No, it was awesome. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
First up for me this week, we've got Darth Vader #25. This is the last issue of Darth Vader. Written by Kieran Gillen with art by Salvador Larroca, but we've also got a couple backups with people with different artists. And it was amazing. Vader has been one of the most interesting Star Wars books since they started them 2 years ago, and this is no exception. It was a very satisfying conclusion. It tied up the story arcs, and it reminded us that no matter how sympathetic isn't even the right word, but no matter how much they make you feel or make you like Vader, like's not the right word because he's still evil. I mean, people can like bad guys, I guess. But no matter how much they've made him, he's still like the evilest mother in the galaxy. And he proves that again here. All of the new characters that we liked get satisfying resolutions. And we also get an awesome backup story about the effect that it had on the Sand People of Tatooine. Because obviously in Attack of the Clones, Anakin goes apeshit and kills a whole bunch of them like they were animals. And he killed them like animals. And then Vader, again, when he was in one of the earlier issues, was on Tatooine for some other reason, and just happened to run off and kill a bunch of them. And so we see the effect that had on the culture of the Sand People, which is super cool. So I'm very excited for Kieran Gillen's new Star Wars project, which is still a secret, but it's going to be coming out in December around the same time as another Star Wars project, so maybe that's a related thing. So just really, really satisfying, great. It's so rare that a comic is good from beginning to end, first issue to last issue, and Darth Vader is definitely that. Star Wars has also been that, although it's not over yet, but the main Star Wars book is also great. And also an addendum, Han Solo 4 came out this week, written by Marjorie Liu with art by Mark Brooks, and it was epic and awesome. I really like the feel they have for Han Solo. The movies give Han a definite character arc, where he went from being kind of a loner who didn't care about anything to joining a team and caring about people. And there's a big tendency when you're writing stuff that fits in between those pieces to kind of write the Han we like towards the end. And she doesn't embrace that. I mean, he still has noble characteristics, but she doesn't move him ahead of where he should be emotionally at this time point. So it's really well written, great Star Wars stuff.
Next up for me is an Amazing Spider-Man event, Dead No More, The Clone Conspiracy. Dead No More, The Clone Conspiracy. This is a 5-issue miniseries spinning out of Amazing Spider-Man, written by the writer of Amazing Spider-Man, Dan Slott, with the always awesome Jim Chung on artwork. So, as I said, 5-issue miniseries that's going to be running alongside of Amazing Spider-Man, so you're going to want to get both. That's my recommendation. And you definitely want to pick up this first issue. Basically, Miles Warren, the Jackal from way, way back in the day, like 1978, 1979. Many of you may not even know. I mean, further back than that, but He basically created a clone of Peter Parker and a clone of Gwen Stacy and many other clones several times in the past. And now he's part of the new research team, and they are promising basically saving people from the brink of death and coming back better than you were before. And the science kind of sort of works, and Peter's spider sense is going off, going, there is something not right here. And this is the beginning of Peter seeing what is actually going on, and it is quite horrifying. But we still don't know exactly what it is, which is awesome. It's not cloning. The Jackal, aka Professor Warren, has said they're not clones, they're real human beings, you have all the memories. We don't know how they're doing it, but lots of villains from Peter's past who have previously died are back, and some of Peter's loved ones are back too, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Gwen Stacy is one of them, because she's been pictured in a lot of the promotional material.
Well, and in a couple previous issues in the backups Peter didn't know about.
Yeah, well, you see her basically working with the Jackal on this, and you get the explanation of why that happened in the incredible backup story in this issue. And I will only say that you find out in the backup story that Gwen was conscious when the Green Goblin and Spider-Man were fighting atop the George Washington Bridge, or whatever bridge they were on in New York City, that led to Gwen's ultimate demise. And to kind of read what she was thinking this whole time is totally worth the price of admission here. So this is a must-buy for Spider-Man fans. You cannot pass this up. And Dan Slott is just amazing. We talk about, Mark Millar writes short bursts of awesomeness. Dan Slott has been on awesome for several years writing Spider-Man. So I can't wait to see what happens next. And he's probably going to end with something sad, and Peter's life will become more miserable than it already is.
Like Peter's life does.
Yes.
Next up for me, we've got American Vampire Anthology #2. I like American Vampire a lot. I actually think this is maybe the best format for it. Because the history of these characters, obviously the vampires live a very long time. The first book starts in the Old West, and then we've got books up to the 70s, I think. I don't think we've gone past that. Maybe even late 60s.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of time period there. There's a huge cast, and there's a lot of moving parts. Plus, Snyder doesn't seem to be able to put out the regular book on a regular schedule anymore. So this is great to have a bunch of short stories, show us different characters, different time periods, the history of the different vampire races. And the creative team here is freaking insane. So Scott Snyder, Raphael Albuquerque, Joel Jones, Marguerite Bennett, Izanov, Raphael Albuquerque writing one of them, actually. I didn't even notice that. Scott Snyder and Alua Richardson, Kieran Gillen. I thought, what's his name did one? Orlando.
Orlando Bloom?
No,
Steve Orlando.
Steve Orlando,
If he's on the cover, then he did one.
Yeah. Well, so there's an Orlando. It could be a different Orlando. Anyway, just a whole bunch of different people writing a whole bunch of awesome vampire stories throughout history, through different cultures. I will say pretty much, well, not every, but most of the important vampire people show up, and the Snyder ones definitely advance the core story for our main cast, and it was just awesome. I'm always happy to get some American Vampire, and this is a huge chunk of American Vampire-y goodness.
Yeah, written by Steve Orlando. The short story called The Cut.
The Cut.
And I didn't read this because I'm not caught up on American Vampire.
I'm actually not either. I don't care.
I have to, because I love me some American Vampire. My final pick this week is Wonder Woman #8 by Greg Rucka and oh, there we go. Oh, come on now. Bilquis Evely.
Bilquis?
Bilquis Evely. Oh, Bilquis. Yeah, I know him. No,
It's the name of an Egyptian god.
No, it makes sense. Except we're talking about the Amazons and the Greeks, so oh well. So this is an interlude. In fact, the title of the story is Interlude. Focusing on the character of Cheetah and her human alter ego, what's-her-face, Barbara Ann Minerva. And it's awesome. We've, to the best of my knowledge, never gotten a glimpse into her past, her upbringing, what made her become an archaeologist and led to her becoming the Cheetah. We've probably seen that a couple of times, but this goes back to her childhood, and it's just it's a great read. It's a great standalone story for a character that really doesn't get her due a lot of the times. I mean, Cheetah is just a Wonder Woman villain that we don't really get a lot of background on. So I really enjoyed this. Again, standalone. You don't have to really know what's going on in the Wonder Woman series. But if you've been reading Wonder Woman, there's absolutely no reason to skip this issue. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Last up for me is Detective Comics 942, written by Steve Orlando and James Tynion, with art by someone McDonald, Andy McDonald. And this is the conclusion of the Monster Men storyline, and it is just as awesome as the rest of the Monster Men storyline. It started to... Last issue was a great refocusing point. Nightwing was the previous issue, or the previous chunk of the story. And it was sort of narrowed down to two main threats. The team split up and went after their things. And I really liked the resolution. Spoiler alert, Gotham doesn't get destroyed. Most of the characters make it out alive. But there was a lot of great Batman-y moments with the final showdown between Hugo Strange and Bruce. And we get some cool team moments with the other members of the detective team kind of interacting. And I like that Nightwing's brought into that. I kind of would like to keep seeing him in Detective because it's a different element than the one that Tim brought. And since he's off the table, we need someone who's actually trained by Batman in here. So Detective Comics, like all the Bat books, is just amazing.
The Amazing Batman. That should be the latest title. The next title.
Give him time.
2 collected editions out this week that I've picked up for my personal collection because I love them so much. Superman American Alien, the hardcover, is out collecting the miniseries by Max Landis and a parade of all-star artists, including Nick Dragotta, Tommy Lee Edwards, Joelle Jones, Jay Lee, Francis Manapul, Jonathan Case, and Jock. This, you may recall, if you've been with us for a while, is a series that Josh and I both loved. Every time an issue came out, it was in our top 3. It was that good. And this basically explores Clark Kent's life from an early age to kind of sort of the present. You're basically checking in each issue on Clark at a different stage of his life. And it's heartfelt, it's action-packed, it's... what else? Horrific, yes. I will just read you some of the pull quotes from the back that will make you buy this. Cinematic and emotional, the right balance of fresh and touching, from the New York Daily News. One of the best Superman comics that gets at the heart of what has made the character one of the world's popular heroes. I would throw the word most in there if it were me. This is the AV Club, aka The Onion. One of the best tales of its kind from Paste Magazine. It's awesome. It's one I will read. I will revisit on a regular basis. And that's why I picked it up in this format. Next up for me is the massive The Fade Out, oversized hardcover, collecting the entire Fade Out series by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. And, good lord, this is such a great series. This won the Eisner, right? For best...
I believe so.
Best something.
Probably limited series.
Best 1940s noir story, I think. So yes, this is for anyone that enjoys Hollywood of the 40s and possibly early 50s. People who like noir, people who like awesome comics, and it's just all kinds of incredible. This would make a great holiday gift, actually, for anybody that reads James Ellroy or Elmore Leonard or all kinds of stuff, or Ed Brubaker. Anybody's a fan of Brubaker. The cool thing about this is I was pleasantly surprised that there are at least 2 of the essays that were published in the back of the single issues as a way to convince people to jump into the singles are published here, and they're awesome, exploring unsolved mysteries of old Hollywood. Great cover gallery in the back, amazing story. I can't wait to read this.
Next up for me, I guess, we got some graphic novels. We got all kinds of graphic novels. And first up is The Games People Play, Tetris. I don't like that title. Yeah. I feel like it should just be called The Games People Play or Tetris. Oh, no, it is called Tetris, The Games People Play. Unless you read from top to bottom in America, and then it's the other way around. This is written and drawn by Box Brown, who's done a number of comics of this type. The Andre the Giant one is the most recent one that comes to mind. But this is really great for anybody who likes video game history. We see the Nintendo Corporation from its original inception. Mark, what year was that?
1980?
No, 1898. They
What?
originally started making...
1898?
They started making playing cards, and it goes through that. It doesn't spend a lot of time on it, because obviously nobody wants to cover 100 years of history. But it's very interesting. You see, Brown has a great appreciation for the place of video games culturally and artistically. And this is actually a really interesting story from a political standpoint, because the game was developed in Russia during the Soviet period. You're not allowed to own things or sell things. How is a product from Russia being sold around the world and setting the world on fire before the wall fell down? It's super interesting and awesome, and I was really, really impressed with it.
1898.
Yeah.
That needs to be a Jeopardy question, because no one would get that right.
Well, no, because they put out that book last year that was like Nintendo, the first 100 years. And I'm like, wait a second, what?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Space Battle Lunchtime from Oni Press, written and drawn by Natalie Reese, is the story of a Iron Chef type cooking show, except it's for the best cooks in the galaxy, and a unsuspecting human from Earth gets sucked up and enters the competition, and it's fun and cool. It's great for fans of books like Lumberjanes or Giant Days, and it's just a lot of humor and cool sci-fi elements. And last up for me in the graphic novel category is Troll Bridge, written by Neil Gaiman, adapted to comic form by Colleen Doran, and Colleen Doran really just knocks it out of the park with her art here. It does a great job of embracing the fantasy and the whimsy of Gaiman's prose. It's a coming-of-age tale with some strong fantasy elements. Obviously, there's a troll under a bridge. And it's Neil Gaiman.
What else do you need?
That's really all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. All right, we had a great response last week to our quick picks at the end, or whatever we want to call them, things that we're highlighting that we're reading that are still good, so we're going to do it again. For me, Flash number 8, still good. Wraps up the current Flash storyline and moves forward with the next issue.
Death of X, number 1 of 4. This actually came out last week, but we didn't get our copy, so we just got to read it this week. Written by Jeff Lemire and Charles Soule. This lets us know what happened, but now a year ago, previously 8 months ago, before Secret Wars, with the X-Men and the Inhumans, and it was fun. If you're an X fan, you definitely don't want to miss what's happening here.
Daredevil number 12 is Daredevil versus the Inhumans and Queen Medusa as he investigates a killer of Inhumans, a serial killer, and finds out he may have a friend on the inside in the world of Inhumans.
Killer Be Killed, number 3, by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, the team behind The Fade Out. Is really, really interesting crime, interpersonal drama, and again, we're getting cool backup essays by people about the field.
I didn't read that one.
It was very heavy.
I read Ed. You know what? I get images in my brain when I go to sleep,
and I don't
can't
need
do
those.
that. Ed Brubaker warns us before you get to it. He's like, I had a nightmare after reading this, so be warned. So I didn't read it.
Well, it was good. Well, it was awful, but it's supposed to be, so. Killer Be Killed is still amazing.
Moon Knight continues to be the awesome book that no one knows what's going on in. And where else can you see a group of Moon Knights a la rebel pilots fighting an army of werewolves on the moon? Great. Great stuff.
Suicide Squad 4 by Robbie Williams, Jim Lee, with some help from friends. Still funny, still really cool backups. Just a very high-quality book, so good on you, DC. Good for not cashing in with crappy books to tie into the movie, giving us something substantive to read.
Action Comics number 965, the Lois Lane of, what are we calling that, Earth? Old Earth? The Lois Lane of our Earth is coming back to Daily Planet because their Lois is probably dead, but who knows. Just great stuff. Dan Jurgens is killing it on Action Comics. It's a book that I look forward to reading every month. Twice a month, actually.
Yeah. Jean Lun Yang's New Superman number 4. Jean Lun Yang, friend of the store, winner of the MacArthur Genius Grant recently. I just really love these characters. I love the weird angle they've got the Chinese Justice League cocked at. And the story has enough similarities to the classic Superman's tale to be instantly recognizable and digestible. But the changes make it really, really pop.
Old Man Logan, The Last Ronin, Part 4. One more part to go in this storyline that sees a young telepath trying to take out Wolverine in our present so that he doesn't kill him in the future.
Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 3. We finally get the main team of Outlaws together. So that would include the introduction of Bizarro, and I really like the way they melded the New 52 Bizarro story into a character that'll actually be useful in the book. I'm going to keep going now.
I had some of Josh's.
Yeah, we overlapped,
stack,
so we were
he
kind
had
of
some of mine, so I'm out. He always reads more than I do, folks. Just so you know.
Black Monday Murders number 3. Look, Jonathan Hickman, I don't want to tell you how to do your job. This should have been the first issue. It's one of the banker conspiracy people in prison being interrogated by the cops, and a lot was revealed that sets it up, and it was really satisfying and awesome. So if the first one confused you, but you liked it, maybe check this one out, and it'll fill in the blanks. Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency, The Salmon of Doubt. I'm sorry, it's Salmon of Doubt. From IDW, this is the first issue. It's written by Arvind Ethan David with art by Ilias Karasaris. What is this? And this is great. Dirk Gently is fun and wacky. If you love Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, this is where you should be. Also, the new Dirk Gently series written by Max Landis, executive produced by Max Landis, who did American Alien, and starring that short kid from
Elijah
The Good Side.
Wood.
Yeah, that one.
The Hobbit.
Elijah Wood.
Frodo Wood Baggins.
They have their new series premiering of Dirk Gently on BBC America the 22nd. So, if you like wacky British stuff, awesome. Doom Patrol number 2 is out. I found it a little more digestible than the first one, and I was really drawn to how much I like the characters that I know next to nothing about. But awesome, and we do get to see a little more Doom Patrolling than we did in the first issue. And last up for me is Briggs Land number 3. This is the end of the first story arc written by Brian Wood, art by Mac Chatter. And Mac Chatter. Good
Mac
God,
Chatter.
I like it. And this gave us an appearance into Grace's life. Remember, she's running a secessionist collective, I guess, that she's wrested control away from her imprisoned husband. And this, we see what's going to be different under Grace's rule, the changes that she makes, the ways she's going to improve people's lives. And it was very touching, even though the people involved are all crime lords and awful.
Awesome. So you see lots of great stuff to choose from this week. We read a ton of comics every week. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's it. You know, we got to go and sell some comics and do some other stuff. But we thank you as always for watching. If you like this episode, please click the thumbs up button next to the video and subscribe to our channel so you're kept in the loop when we add new stuff. If you do have any questions, post them in the comments below and we'll get to them. And that'll do it for this time. We'll see you next week.